This is my reflection for Saturday, February 4th, 2023. We started off with Module A, setting directions, and had an amazing guest speaker, Dane Lawrence Prince. So, what were my main takeaways? First, we need to look at what setting directions is focused on. So, the question to be examined is, how does principals and VPs establish in collaboration with staff, students, and other stakeholders an overall sense of purpose or vision for work in their schools to which they are all strongly committed? And so there are different components to that and areas that need to be considered. For example, what data might you use to inform the direction you set? How might you make this process collaborative? How might you access and use stakeholder voices? How might you build consensus? How might you communicate this process? How might you build buy-in with staff? So, um, Dane introduced a great article. This is by George Corus, and there were a number of very important takeaways from this article. And so Dr. Corus writes, setting direction is imperative to our journey, but there is no singular line that will get you to a point. We have to be understanding that different people take different pathways to get to that vision, and we have to be comfortable with that. And this is related to how it's important to differentiate. So just like teachers differentiate with students, it's important that there is differentiation with as an administrator to differentiate with teachers. Now, we in the discussion we had a lot of discussion about the whole issue of data, and it's important to really reflect on that data really is not sharing the data is not enough. And so people have to experience something, create an emotional connection if you're truly going to embrace sustainable change. So, so I'll give you example. For example, um, emotional connection, especially with FNMI learning, it really impacted me was when I took the FNMI AQ with Jody Johnson, and her sharing her experiences and then experience of the indigenous communities really created um, this emotional change within me, and so it's really helped me embrace sustainable change. And so as an administrator, the same has to be done. Um, for example, bringing guest speakers. And I this is related to using technology. So so for example, in staff meetings, like bringing guest speakers using Google Meet to foster these communications and connections with indigenous communities with the staff and really helping these relationships that need to be built outside of the school community, and technology can really do that. An example here too is using social media to build these connections too with with um, others outside the community, and this really fosters the innovation process. So it's important as leaders that we do not lose as a school when we have leaders that have no idea what is going outside of them. So it's important to start to understand the shifts. And this is not only in schools, but in the road. And and it's like, how do we bridge connections that are relevant to our community? So, so for example, what's happening recently with the TDSB is that they have made grade 11 Indigenous English um, mandatory for all courses. And so this is really understanding what is happening beyond my board, like York Region, understand what's happening in other areas. What are shifts and changes that are occurring, and this is very much connected to truth and reconciliation, and what is happening, especially with the reconciliation part. So this brings up to the whole idea of efficiency, and this is a great quote by Peter Drucker, and which was really emphasized by Dane Lawrence Prince, which is efficiency, which is doing things right, is irrelevant until you work on the right things. So it's all connected to having the right vision, okay? And so let me talk to the issue more about vision. A vision, it's needs to be developed together with staff, has to have high expectations. It's important that these goals are broken down into smaller goals that are achievable, build confidence and competence towards getting towards a larger vision. So it's similar to like, um, for example, with teachers, chunking materials for their students. So to make it more understandable. And so when there are smaller goals, it's much easier not to be overwhelmed. And so so it's it's connected to the whole issue of scaffolding, where as one gets more comfortable, it's expanding that zone of ZPD, and then keep expanding it. And this allows more growth, especially building capacity in staff. Now, this vision, it's important that the vision is truly created together and the process is actually collaborative. So it's not that the minister needs to not have this fixed mindset and really be open to taking feedback from staff. But at the same time, there has to be that transparency. So if there are things uh, that as a minister I would like to achieve in the school, the it has to be clear what the non-negotiables are, so that there is no surprises for teachers. Now, be open to suggestions and modifying plans based on the feedback that is received. And I really like this quote. The smartest person in the room is the room. And if you aren't open to feedback as the teacher, as a leader, you are not a leader, you are a boss. So Dane Lawrence Prince had a Padlet where we had um, shared our thoughts. And so we need to have buy-in from, and so something that was common and among the different breakout groups was the really strong need to have buy-in from staff in order to create a shared, meaningful vision for student, staff, and the community. And the need to create space to hear various voices to create that shared vision. So it goes back to the whole idea of really being aware of which voices are not being heard and making sure that all voices are being heard. Now, we also had an excellent guest speaker for the second part on that day, and that was from Wendy Howes. And so she covered Module B, building relationships and developing people. And a major takeaway from this is really the whole mindset towards disability. So the social model of disability. I love this quote that she shared with us. The barriers for persons with disabilities are in the way the road is built, not the person. So it's not about a person who who has who is who has difficulty has a disability in walking, to provide them with a new leg. It's to make sure that there is no barriers, so that they are able to, that um, and individuals with disabilities are able um, to maneuver around without these barriers. So society and systems, including schools, need to be are built for students who are able-bodied and neurotypical, and so we need to rethink how how school, society, and systems are built. Okay, and I would like to end it off here for the main takeaways I got for the day.